All Things Unexplained. Hosted by Dr. Mounts.
Let's face it, we were always ready to roll without him anyway.
CJ Derringer.
Ain't nobody perfect, right?
And Smitty Neebs.
I've never planned out hardly anything my whole life. I just freeball.
Featuring Cajun Man.
I'm just old nobody, somebody looking for somebody.
All right, welcome to All Things Unexplained. To all our listeners out there on Facebook Live right now, welcome. If you're listening on the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, all over the world, we've got podcast listeners all over the world. So you're either hearing us on Facebook Live, you're watching us on YouTube, or you're listening to the podcast episode. Welcome and thanks for tuning in to All Things Unexplained. We've already got some long-time listeners tuned in on Facebook Live right now. George Winters and our friend of the show, Kelly. She did not give us permission to say her whole name, but she's there. CJ, my co-host, CJ Derringer, welcome. How's it going, CJ?
Going well. Excited for this one. Very excited.
Awesome. Excellent. So am I. By the way, I'm Dr. Mounts. I've got some Bigfoot books on squatching.com. Speaking of squatching, Smitty Neebs is back with us tonight.
Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to see everybody. Well, I can't see you, but I can talk to you, I guess. You.
If you listen to the podcast, though, you can't see Smitty, but he's in his action recliner. He's got his jumbo sweat towel ready behind his neck. Also,
what good is a recliner when you have a wall right behind you?
When I have what behind me?
It looks like the wall is right behind you. Can you even recline in that chair?
Oh, yeah. I can go back, yeah.
Oh, okay. All
yeah.
Right.
I built that wall, by the way.
You sure
nice.
Can go back.
That was risky right there. Smitty with the lean back in the recliner. Yeah, he's in the old-timer log cabin.
I built that wall, so...
Yeah, Smitty built that wall on rock and roll, as a matter of fact.
That's exactly right.
Little known fact.
We built this city.
But for all our Facebook Live listeners, a lot of you tuning in to this special episode, UFO abduction and alien surgery. We have a special guest here with us tonight. And I'm glad that my friend Kelly is on Facebook Live right now, because she is kind of how we got put in contact with our special guest. So I was at our neighborhood swimming pool recently with my son Charlie. It was a typical no school Wednesday. We haven't had school on Wednesday. Lord, I can't remember the last time. So that means all the kids go to the neighborhood pool every Wednesday. It's quite the scene. Pretty chaotic. Don't go out there to rest, I assure you. Although I might sneak in a few little Z's every once in a while. But so I'm out there at the pool. I'm in the shallow end, about up to my shins, because the water's like 40 degrees still. And Kelly, she rushes up to me and says, Tim, I've got something to tell you. I said, okay, what's happening? And Kelly's been a long-time listener of the show. And she says, so I've got this friend, a great friend in Malibu. And I promise you, she's normal. She's not crazy. She's just a perfectly normal person. And she's got this great friend there in Malibu. And she just was brave enough to reveal an incident of her own involving a close encounter of the third kind. So that put me in contact with our guest tonight, who has had their own close encounter of the third kind involving alien entities and an abduction. And she's been brave enough to reveal this story online a little bit at a time. And she's been kind enough to come on to the show tonight and talk to us about it, answer some questions, and talk to the listeners and just reveal her side of the story. And we would like to give a special welcome to our guest tonight on UFO abduction and alien surgery, welcome to Oracle Oriah Mirzah. I'm going to bring her in right now.
Yeah, it's a tricky name.
Hey,
Hi.
Hi,
Good
how
to
are
see
you?
good.
Thank you for having
We are
me
so
on.
excited to have you.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you have a cozy little crew there.
Yeah.
We
It is
do,
a cozy
doing
little
our
crew.
best.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we try not to make too big of a crowd of it. So, Oracle Oriah, thanks for joining us. What exactly would you most prefer to go by, Oracle or Oriah?
You could call me Oriah for the show. Oracle is just to get the point across.
Oh, I understand. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Oriah.
Yes, you look great. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to
I'm
see
so
you.
excited to have you on the show. I've been just binge watching all of your videos between, your story and yours and your husband's and your Q&A that you did with him, and I'm like digging it, all of it. So happy
Thank
you're here
you.
with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Oriah.
So,
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background and early years.
sure. Well, I grew up an only child here in Southern California in Los Angeles. And my dad just always was moving, and I didn't know why, but like every 6 months, and I was just used to it. I didn't think anything of it. So I kind of grew up a little bit unusual. And my dad was always constantly binge watching UFO VHS tapes. This is in the 80s and the 90s. And no other father in school, none of their fathers were doing that. So I had the weird dad. And he talked to me about the weirdest things all the time. And I basically ended up rejecting all of it, because that's what happens when your parent like constantly is talking to you about something you don't want to hear. So I had no interest in UFOs, aliens, anything extraterrestrial whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I'm very happy just looking at what I have in my own world. And I just was, a happy-go-lucky person. I had children. I was religious in my early years, and I walked away from that to discover new things. I wanted to see what else was out there. But I never, ever looked to the skies or anything spiritual, multidimensional, or psychic. So when I met my husband, that was honestly, and I've told the story so many times, I just actually went for looks this time. I actually didn't care what he did. I mean, he was giving readings, and I think I had one reading in my life at a tarot reader in Vegas. That was the extent of it. So none of his friends understood why he was dating me. And he was like, well, we're a match. Obviously we were attracted to each other, but I had no interest in his world. And so that's why this is so unusual, this story, because I didn't ask for this. I wasn't laying out runway strips for the aliens to find me or extraterrestrials to locate me. That's not what I was doing. So that's my beginning story.
To be continued.